NYUZ, and Mr. Shivaram A from Retail Gurukul. We are very thankful to both of them to have this presentation for us today. Now I hand over the presentation to them to take it forward from here. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Swapnil. Welcome, everybody. It's great to have you here today in the afternoon because there's something different that me and Shivaram are going to be doing very soon. So we're going to do this thing called the Masterclass in Marketing and Merchandising. It's on the 17th and 18th of this month, which is less than a week away.
So thank you so much. My name is Shivaram, and Navin, can you please switch to the next slide? Navin is the typical sales guy, so he taught us how to first and foremost sell yourself. I am the more back end kind of a guy. That's why he's in Bombay and I'm in Bangalore, I think.
Yeah.
So once you start selling yourself, you should also know how to buy yourself. So इसीलिए हमने लिखा है कि पहले तो खरीद लो अपने आप को. So my own little background, I started Retail Gurukul in 2012, and I'm in the same space of consulting and training and mentoring. Last 6 years, we've been working with about 150 retailers across the country, retailers, manufacturers, international organizations like PGI, Rio Tinto. I've done some work for the Government Skill Council, then been speaker at the IAJS, UBM and the GJF forums. Earlier to my avatar as an entrepreneur, as a trainer and a consultant, I was for almost 20 years in Titan Watches and Tanishq Jewellery, 10 years each, where amongst the many roles that I did, I was the head of Tanishq merchandising for many years. Earlier to that, I was the regional sales head in Bangalore. Then I did a last bit of 1 year in training, which is really what I say gave me the passion that I was looking for to kind of go and train people. I personally believe we have done a lot of innovations and experiments. Little more about something called the theory of constraints, which is what I use in my merchandising efficiency build up for our clients and training programs. Overall, I got about 25 years of multiple roles, both in front end and back end, both as a seller, as a buyer, across even multiple industries apart from jewelry and watches. And very, very passionate about online and offline connect. Online is something what we are now seeing people like GemAtlas and all that who have put together such a nice infrastructure and reach. Otherwise, imagine 50 or 100 of us connecting with each other on this kind of a platform. Navin, would you please take the next slide?
Okay. Thank you, Swapnil, for putting us together. And Shivaram, go on for now.
Yeah. So in this brief agenda of about 15 minutes or so, what I've identified is really a summary of what Navin mentioned about a 2-day program. So you know what to expect in a much more detail. First and foremost is on the aging inventory. Basically, if any of you are watching this, I would love to hear from you about what is the average age of your inventory. Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? Or if it is a easier metric, right, is how much or what percentage of your inventory, or what do you think is the percentage of the inventory in the industry in plain gold, which is maybe 90% of the country's business, which is more than 6 months old. If any of you are watching here, please put together a number down in the message so that we can watch your response, and based on that I can make out what is your number, and I'll share you what is really my number. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds. Put in a number. It need not be yours or it can be yours, but we are always, I think, in the same boat. So nothing to, worry too much. So maybe one of you can put together some number. What do you think is country's overall slow moving inventory, or at a typical couple of stores? What do you think? Is the slow moving inventory, at least in plain gold? I'm not even talking about, let's say, diamond jewelry. Can you hear me?
They will only be able to reply to you at the end.
No, but they can write at the bottom is what I thought.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Fair deal, right? So if you can wait for you at the end, we'll move to the next slide, which will be the role of merchandising in business, then the art and science, the truth, launching a collection, and vitamin M. Any guesses on vitamin M by the time we come to that? I'll request Navin to go to the next slide in the meantime. Yeah. So which is what I mentioned, what percentage of your inventory or the average retailer's gold stock is more than 6 months old. The information that I have is, typically it's an average of 20 to 30%. There are people with more than 25, 30%. There are very, very, very few really who can say that my stock is 95% less than 3-4 months old. And first and foremost, I think they have a challenge typically as a retailer to even have this number in our hands, and I think that's something which is a number that we will discuss a lot more in our workshop of how do you define this number, what is stock rotation, how do you identify, how do you handle this problem when there is probably not even an identity for the product inside our own stores. Next slide, Navin. Just type a message. Let's see what happens. So this is very basic, but sometimes we tend to miss these kind of basics. In fact, I keep Navin is a big time cricket fan. I don't know how big a fan he is of Sachin Tendulkar, but I was. Who isn't? Okay, good point. Right. So Sachin Tendulkar, when he didn't play well for some time, so he went back to his coach, and the coach Ramakant Achrekar, right? So he asked him to go back to his basics, right? So Sachin went back to his basics, cricket playing. So in the same sense, the role of merchandising, if you really ask me, and I think many of us are already seasoned shoppers, purchase managers, owners, whatever you want to call it, or maybe even merchandising managers. Is customers want to buy merchandise that meets and exceeds their needs and wants. So there are 4 operative words here, right? One is buy merchandise, right? Whatever, and I'll pull Navin's leg here, whatever he will talk about marketing, etc., 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 shopping ambience and things like that. End of the day, the customer is coming to all our stores to buy mall, right? If the mall is not good, all marketing, all coffee, all chai, all shopping experience, all AC won't really help. Sure, they'll come and be very, very nice, but I think that's really the point. I mean, in all challenges to all of us, and I think merchandise is really the if you were to do an 80-20 of your expenditure, the investment really is sitting, especially in the jewelry industry, right? It's really sitting in the merchandise. So while merchandise, marketing, communication, convenient store location, delightful shopping experience, attentive customer service are all important, right? Ultimately, it's really all about whether we have the merchandise in place. I hope you guys are able to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody can, because I can hear it pretty clear, Shivaram.
Oh, very nice. So we'll go to the next slide.
Yeah, but before that, I'll tell you that the product will always be king, which is why if you see the slide on the right side, I've kept you on top. There are 2 kings, and the bottom and she is on the top. So merchandise will always be king, don't worry.
I think what we should say is merchandising is king and the customer is queen.
Perfect. I was saving it for the 17th.
Okay, very good. Go to the next one. Okay, right. It's a little more serious point here, right? I mean, I presume most of us or most people believe in God. Uh, what I have seen and experienced, especially when working with multiple retail businesses, is we tend to buy merchandise a lot on gut feel, right? I mean, you trust your instinct. I'm sure that's required. You trust your instinct. You trust your experience. You trust your people. You do a lot of it based on judgment. We are very, very used to this thing called jugaad, I think, right? All of us. In fact, one day I asked many years ago, very large retailer, right? One of the first questions I asked is, "How do you buy?" Then, "What do you mean, how do you buy?" "I buy," right? I said, "How much do you buy every year?" "Yeah, maybe 20-30 crore," right? I said, 20-30 crore कैसे खरीदते हैं आप? अरे यहाँ है, right? So that's the point, right? So while we all give the due credit that is there because of experience and expertise and things like that, what really comes out of data really is completely very, very different. So which is one thing that I come, especially from a kind of a Tanish kind of a background where to a large extent everybody is equal, whether you are a boss or his assistant, right? So everybody has to necessarily justify the decision. In fact, if you Flipkart merger is very much in the news. If you drill an article that came out many years ago, it's an amazing amount of data analysis that they bring to the table for any decision. In fact, there is even a presentation which the Flipkart team has made to people in the Walmart group. Even that, if you really understand and read, is complete data. Sure, there are points saying that we are this, we are that, but at the end of the day, there are metrics, right? Without the kind of metrics that we are looking for, right? What you're going to buy, how much you buy is extremely critical. In fact, one of the things that will come out when you start analyzing data really is, for me, even more important than buying is what not to buy. So it will tell you, listen, this is a product which isn't not selling in your store, so abhi bhi aap kyun kharid rahe ho? So in conclusion, art and science, in God we trust, and all others must bring. Earlier it used to be must bring data, but now it is called as bring the right data, because everybody will now come with her or his sanitized version of data. So many organizations spend a lot of money on building a central ERP. The ERP is just to ensure that the data visibility is common to each and every person in the organization.
In fact, there's so much of data nowadays with technology. I mean, you need people just to, siphon out what data is actually useful for you. So just everybody floating with so much data.
Sure. Next. Yeah. So I think this is again yet another pictorial representation, right? If you look at all of us, you ask the maybe the manager, the merchandising team. Typically, we will show you from a merchandising point of view. We'll show you what we need is already what we have. But you go to the front end store and you ask the store people, what do they have? And they'll tell you what they don't have, right? So it's invariably an issue of, it's a question of half full or half empty. So we might have the quantities in the store, but the quality of the product or the type of product, the assortment that the stores require or they think they require is really missing according to them. And that's a very, very good I will say excuse to say why the sale is not happening. And why I'm saying that is, like I said in the past, I've been a salesman myself as well as a merchandiser. So I know what is the kind of reason that we would give on either side of the table, right? So at the end of the day, I believe there is in all seriousness again, right, there is need to understand what is it that our merchandising team can probably offer to the business, and what is it that the sales team really need to work around with. And I will always say to the sales guys that, if everything that you wanted was always there, then we can as well open up a Reliance retail store where people come and buy their own stuff and the entire sales team is really not required. So part of the job of the retail sales team is really also to be able to sell what is available in the store rather than constantly complaining about what is not there in the store. And I think this is increasingly critical as retailers become more and more organized, and as retailers or as owner retailers, you are no longer part of every sales transaction in the store. Even if you have a single store and if you got 5 transactions happening, it's very unlikely that every transaction you can be completely part and parcel of the transaction. So the truth is, what you need and what you already have, there has to be a certain amount of overlap. It can't be that, you know, there is hardly any overlap at all, which is the kind of an impression that you get from the front end when the sales is not you know, doing well. Next. Yeah. So launching a collection, which is point number 5, and each one of these topics that we have explained to you is probably even in a 2-day workshop is probably an hour and a half of discussion, right? We'll try and take you through how do you launch a collection. In fact, this entire idea actually started with Navin, you know, suggesting that can we work together. I think the crux of any merchandising today really is putting the entire collection in place and on time, and the marketing effort that goes in putting the entire collection in place. So Navin, the next slide. So what we'll show you here is really a 9-step to a launch. Again, each of these things, you know, in the 2-day presentation, there are actually 120 points on these 9 topics, subtopics. So we'll run through all those 120 points, you know, if you are there in the full 2-day workshop. But for you, as a summary in a 1-hour kind of a webinar like this, and thanks to GemAtlas for making it free for you guys, the way to really look at an entire store launch collection or a collection launch for a particular store is, first and foremost, look at it and study the market, irrespective of where you are, whether you are in a Bandra, or whether you are in a Jammu or a Kolkata, right? You have to study the market, right? So maybe there is an opportunity in the plain gold space, Jadao space, Kundan space, Chakri space, whatever it is, right? Not only are you to understand what is there being offered in the market. One of the things that you'll find in a store like Tanishq is a Jammu store will probably give you a South Indian Kerala pattern, and a Kerala store will probably give you let's say a Kolkata pattern, or a an Amritsar pattern of you know, merchandise. So for a customer, for a brand, it helps to differentiate yourself. I understand that, you know, it's not easy to have an all India collection within a particular store all the time, but for at least you should be able to identify and study the markets. I think I've got about 5-7 minutes, right? Then understand the retail store product requirement. The market says, okay, listen, diamond is what sells. Do you think you can sell diamonds in your store? Analyze the retail store pattern. We'll talk about assortment planning, we'll talk about 80-20, we'll talk about things like that. And then decide on the jewelry products for procurement. If you say that I'm looking at let's say in a very simplistic manner, let's say diamond finger rings, right? That's what you see as an opportunity. Then what is the kind of diamond finger rings that you would like to buy? Then from that point of view of diamond finger rings, how do you identify vendors for order placement? Who are all the vendors in the market? Would you buy stones, get it done? Would you buy from a large manufacturer? Would you get it done from a Babu? Would you do it your own manufacturing? Those are the options that you have. Then from these options that you have, you need to select a particular vendor with whom you're going to work on the collection launch. You see, that's extremely critical, that the whole collection becomes cohesive. It's not like you go to an IHS, buy 25 different rings from 25 different or 5 different manufacturer, vendors and wholesalers, put it together, put a name to it and say that I've launched a collection. There should be some commonality in what you are offering in the form of a collection. Then you've selected the vendors, you've placed the order, and most important, I think, is deciding on the pricing and the promotion and the formal offer, right? Too often the pricing is left to a past experience, or many a time we see that the promotions, which I'm sure Navin will detail it in much more thing, is left literally to the last minute, right? You have to necessarily get the marketing team into the system much ahead of the time, and then together, like what you see, the card that he has created, right? It is both sides of the same coin, and then hopefully and pray that you have a very good launch and the sales targets are really achieved. Yeah, so I just told you about the 120 points. I think I'll just take you one or two points here, right?
Thanks, no problem.
We have around 10 minutes. Okay, I'll try and take this 6-7 points one by one then, right? Identify potential vendors for the product through exhibitions, advertisements in magazines, online referrals, etc. Obviously, the line is very self-explanatory, but I'll give you a story which probably makes you understand what it is. Long ago, before the internet and things like that, a lot of people wanted to work with, let's say, the Japanese. So people would write letters, so saying that I want to collaborate with you as a great Japanese company. So typically they would get 100 letters a month, right? And after 3 months, the guys who are a little more serious would say, listen, I wrote to you 3 months back and you are not replied, I'm still interested. So that 100 would have brought down to 30. Then after another, and these Japanese guys would never reply, right? After another 3 months, that 30 people who had replied, asked for it 33 months ago, would reply again and say, listen, 6 mahine ho raha hai, kya ho raha hai, kya ho raha hai? So that will finally come down to a 3 or a 4 of the people who are still interested. And maybe at the end of 1 year, there's one guy who has written 8 letters. Now, that's the guy who is really serious about doing business. So in some sense, I would think that your own vendors and you have to build that kind of a long-term relationship, right? While sure, the vendor is probably today at a point where he needs your business more than initially you think you may need his support. We'll come to it in a much later place where we're talking about something called a vendor loyalty program, right? We have all heard, and I'm sure he's the expert to talk about customer loyalty. But I'll talk to you about vendor loyalty and what does it mean and how you can benefit from a market, from a situation like that. Now that you know that there are, let's say, these 6 or 7 vendors with whom you want to work, understand what product should be procured from which location through study, contacts, and previous experience. So, the diamond jewelry could be bought in Bombay. It could probably, a different kind of diamond jewelry could be, cut, what do you call, different types of cuts is what Calcutta is, let's say, famous for. You could buy it from a site holder and get it set in a factory in Surat, right? You could even get it done in, let's say, a Coimbatore, for example, right? Different markets have got close setting. You have to, let's say, go to South India, right? So would a close setting diamond ring be a market in, let's say, Jammu? That's something which is what I would expect you as a merchandiser have identified as a gap in your market, in your store. And we go to point number 3, collect information on vendors such as year of establishment, suppliers to what stores, product category they are known for, reputation in the market, quality of the product, etc. This is the simple KYC, Aadhaar card, whatever you want to call it. But you must be able to revalidate this kind of an information, not only from the vendor himself or herself, but also from your market sources. Then understand the product, the product spread that the vendor can offer. Obviously, every vendor also has got salespeople trained by people like us, so they will tell you that they can make the world for you. So here the opportunity is really for you to visit the vendor at their places. Just now before this article, I was actually reading how Krishnamurthy from Flipkart turned around Flipkart, and one of the things that he mentioned was that he would take a plane, and Navin is more familiar with taking aeroplanes, right? He would take the planes, go to the vendor's place, pound the doors, and sign up exclusive deals, right? So that's really the opportunity, right? So you want to get the things done, maybe you have to step out of as a merchandiser. Most vendors would love to come and see you, but how often do you as a merchandiser go out, visit the vendors, really see what exactly they have in terms of merchandise, what they tell you and what they can actually showcase to you as their factory are honestly very different. Only when you've gone there you will see that it isn't really a 500 people factory, it's probably a 30 people startup place. Understand the uniqueness that the vendor can offer. For example, unique designs, electroforming jewelry, etc., etc. And I'll just pick on, let's say, for example, the electroforming jewelry, which is quoted here. What kind of technology is he using to do electroforming jewelry? Right? Is he using some of the chemicals and alloys which should not be using? How does he, for example, dispose of what do you call that? Some of the byproducts that are coming out. Is it hazardous to health? Is it fatal? For example, some of the chemicals that he's using. So those are the things is what will matter to you if you are looking to stand up and say, listen, I am a socially responsible retailer, and you will see that more and more as we go forward. And what is the kind of unique designs that he is able to offer? I have mentioned this before. Identify vendors from specific locations for specified products. For example, manufactured in West Bengal, or now they call themselves Bengal, right? And needs to be procured from there only to get the authentic product. So you have to match necessarily, what is the product that you want to offer, and the kind of designs, the price point. Are you the cheapest brand in the market? What do you stand for? Are you simply seen as there's a very large retailer in South who claims that he's the cheapest anytime in the world? 0% making, 0% colored stone, and 0 this and 0 that. That's a new guy, right? Do you have a trustworthy exchange policy? Do you have a proper exchange value, right? Are you seen as the go-to retailer, designer, brand for new designs? Then understand the terms and conditions of the vendor, such as pricing, delivery date, credit information, etc. And I'll just pick on this. We can talk about it lots more, but I'll talk about the sales pitch of the vendor versus the real capability of the vendor versus the actual performance, right? I might still be capable. Forget about my retail sales pitch or to you as a manufacturer, but I may be still capable of delivering the product, but my actual delivery could be completely different. And one of the things that I will talk about here is the delivery date, and I keep asking all our manufacturer friends and retailers whom I find at the IAJS, for example, especially when the market is good. Everybody is very, very, very happy, saying that they are getting lots and lots of bookings, and everybody, the whole of IAJS has promised a 2 to 3 weeks delivery. Now, if you take all the selections into consideration, and you put all of it is getting actually confirmed, I can challenge you that the order, 100% of the order wouldn't get delivered in 3 months time. Yet the literally the whole country will keep talking about, "Are 2-3 hafte mein mil jayega." So you see, that's the gap. And then you are stuck with some retailers, some vendors who are given you maybe reasonable collection orders which are delivered. Somebody has given you only 20 or 30%, and you are dependent on this entire mix for your collection launch. Now, is that collection launch complete? Maybe some finger rings are completely missing, some necklace is missing, maybe your advertisement piece which you ordered on a particular vendor is only 5 pieces and you had ordered 25 pieces. And then the rest of the story, which I will leave it to Navin to take forward as to what happens when you launch without the product. Right? Next. Yeah. So I would like to get you a box of chocolates if you come to the program, and if you guessed what vitamin M is for, which is vitamin money for all of us. So aging inventory hopefully would have come down. The role of merchandising, you should become the hero and the heroine of your business in the office, because you are in a position now to improve the performance of the entire business, right? Your stock rotation should improve, your profitability should improve. You have a logic and a reason, which is the art and the science of what is it that the product that you want, and what is it that the product that is selling, and what is it that the product that you are buying. And I talked enough about the truth, about the data. In God we trust, and for everybody else, including you and me, we need to bring data to the table. And finally, hopefully, if you put all of these points together in the detail that we will discuss in the workshop, right, you should be in a position to say, this is the best collection launch that we have ever done. And hopefully at the end of it, there is money for the merchandising team, there's money for the back office, there's money for the front end, there's money for everyone, including the owners in the business. So I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions after Navin's presentation. Over to you, Navin.
Thanks a lot, Shiva. You know what? I mean, Shivaram talks with a lot of discipline, with a lot of systems, all of that. And I realized that, even here, by default, I was going to talk disruption. And I get a call from GemAtlas, you didn't introduce yourself properly. And you were talking about brand, and you haven't introduced your brand. So I'm going to go back right to the beginning, and it's going to get a little disruptive to go back ulta, 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 ulta. लेकिन मेरे को अपने आप को पहले So this is Navin here, and I'm from NYUZ. For a lot of people who don't know what or where the origin of NYUZ comes from, my name is Navin Sadarangani. In the local language, Navin का मतलब नया, new, S format. New and S becomes new. So trademark those I started NYUZ and I buy the .com. So that's the logic behind the name of my company, and we are largely into service in the jewelry industry. This business is it's fluke. I came to the jewelry industry by fluke. I was a plain BCom graduate. I tried management, I tried computers, dropped out of that because it didn't interest me. But always throughout my school and college, I always made it a point to be working in the vacations. So the 2 months that we had vacations, I always did some kind of vacation job. So whether it was with parlays selling, noodles with the launched in Tetra packs. So they come into India now, but that time they had something called parlay Vista, which didn't work so great. There was Indian Express newspapers where I did marketing, and there was Taj where I was a cashier in sea lounge. There was MRAS Work, which was a market research company, and many such companies is what I did when I was a kid. I was always interested in sports, so a lot of people may not know, but the reason I got into jewelry was that somebody told me कि B. Arun Kumar जो company है ना, उसकी cricket team ना A division की time shield winner है. So the whole idea why I got into B. Arun Kumar headed Intergold at that point of time was I wanted to play cricket, and that was one reason why I got into B. Arun Kumar. So I got into jewelry. Rosie Blue, by the way, was called B. Arun Kumar way back then. So I'm fluke entry into the jewelry industry. 13 years with the Rosie Blue on Intergold doing different things. So when I began, I was doing international sales. Then I learned management. So I spent about 8 months on the bench paid internship where I learned everything from casting, setting, filing, polishing, with the promise that I would be part of the core team that set up the Platinum Jewelry Factory. 2.5 years, we ran that factory. Then the retail was the new thing which came after Shivaram joined in. So then we started the retail store of Intergold, and 7 years I was with the retail of Intergold, which is now called Aura. After that, we had a vision for the company, and we revisited that, and we went into wholesale and domestic distribution, and GemAtlas was launched. It was like a wholesale domestic distribution company. Now, being in the jewelry industry for 13 years, I realized that I was exposed to many facets of the jewelry industry, and that's how I thought I want to do something different. And I developed NYUZ with a vision to be the preferred jewelry retail service provider. So what we do today, we're largely doing 4 C's of services. So it's coaching, consulting, creative services, concepts, and creation. NYUZ.com will tell you it's just a refabricated website, so you can go down there and look more detail. That's about me. So मैंने थोड़ी elaborately अपने आप को बेचा है, फिर वापस स्लाइड को पीछे लेके आके elaborately बेचा है, because I believe that अगर हम जो धंधे में है, ज्वेलरी के धंधे में, हर ज्वेलरी के धंधे में जो ज्वेलरी स्टोर का ओनर होता है ना, he is a brand by himself. A lot of customers want to meet that person, want to talk to the person, even if they're comfortable with the salesperson, they want to have a 2-minute conversation, to discount जो भी बोलो, but they want to meet the person. So the person is actually a bigger brand, which leads to the store's success, but as he grows, as he's growing, he has to learn how to let go of those things, which is where things like this masterclass come into handy. These kind of classes, courses, seminars, which allow you to learn from other people and from other colleagues what is the right way to delegate and go ahead. Because finally, this is what I believe: धंधे में, in business, whatever you make in your business, so people build brands. People say, "Oh, मेरा brand को देखा, इतना बड़ा है." You saw his brand was so big, ये film star है, वो film star है. Finally, like what Shivaram ended his thing with, he talked about vitamin money. You don't make profit. Whatever you're making in the brand, you won't make it for long. So that's what my belief is. It has to be, every business has been intended for profit. So brand building, all of that is fine. But finally, profit has to be a goal, and that goal has to be translated to all people down the line. What I'm going to be talking about in the marketing part of this webinar is marketing versus sales. I'm going to talk about the 4 P's, which are part of the marketing mix, and the X factor, what the X factor is. I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to talk about the spokes in your marketing. Everybody is doing marketing, but does your marketing really have the right amount of spokes? And finally, CRM. We all believe that customer is the king, and like Shivaram rightly said, our customer is the queen. So fine, what are we doing to make sure the queen comes back to us? So CRM. How do you package this whole mantra in a new yantra? Yantra, by the way, is a vehicle. Mantra is what you say. So you have mantra, yantra, tantra, which is something which ancient scriptures taught. So going on to topic 1, which is about marketing versus sales. A lot of people have not understood or don't pay serious notice to the word marketing and what it stands for. We all in sales. That's what we want. For sales to happen, marketing is actually creating a reason and opportunity for a sale. When I talk to a few people in the B2B space, in the jewelry industry, and they have, they have teams. So they have, like a national manager. They have somebody sitting in Bangalore who is on, and he has 2 people with him. There's somebody in Delhi, and Delhi North is a very big market. So you have Delhi, Lucknow, all those markets over there. So they have people in Delhi, and there's a North head, and you have an East head, and you have a West head. So even when the national chairman is saying, I have a big team of marketing executives. No, my friend, they're not marketing executives. They are sales representatives of your wholesale company, because they are going in marketing. They are going exactly across to every retailer and they're trying to sell a product or sell a proposal or a business proposal. That's not marketing. So there's a very thin line, and it is it's thin, but it's very understandable. Let's not mix marketing and sales. Sales is the dhanda that we are doing. Marketing is all that we do, जिसके कारण हमको धंधा मिलता है. 4 P's was something that we learned in college in economics. I think we did this somewhere where we talked about the 4 P's, which dictate how you should run your business. So there's product, there's price, there's place, there's promotion. All of us as jewelers, we're very focused on product. प्रोडक्ट ही सब कुछ है. शिवराम राइटली सेड प्रोडक्ट ही सब कुछ है. ठीक है, बराबर वो सब कुछ है, लेकिन ये प्रोडक्ट को समझने का, ये प्रोडक्ट राइट है कि रॉन्ग है, ये प्रोडक्ट इस समय के लिए राइट है कि रॉन्ग है, ये प्रोडक्ट ये प्राइस पे राइट है कि रॉन्ग है, ये प्रोडक्ट कस्टमर 6 लाख में खरीदेगा या 3.25 लाख तक खरीदेगा. ये जो साइंस, ये जो चीज है ना, दिस इज समथिंग व्हिच मर्चेंडाइजिंग टीचेस यू. And in fact, I can't put it across, so seriously in something like this, but it requires that effort of the 15-hour workshop that we are trying to do, the masterclass, to understand how you actually go right with the product. As of now, it's the boss that decides what product I want to keep. But there is a scientific process which can be put in place by which product recognition, new product development, product design, all of those things can happen in a matter of a calendar which you put. Price, we always price sensitive. Everything that we say, so when I'm also doing training, and our basic training program talks about product, it talks about environment, it talks about process, but finally people actually say that sir उसे जरूरत है कि आदमी तो सिर्फ प्राइस ही पूछता है. मैं कुछ भी बोलता हूँ सोने का भाव क्या है, तो I have to look there and say हाँ सोने का भाव 28,900 22 कैरेट. ग्राम कितना है सर 6.32. सीधा आदमी भी कैलकुलेटर पकड़ के प्राइस पे उतर जाता है. So right from the top till the salesperson, our body language, our methodology, our whole attitude towards the sales process, okay, is all about selling on भाव की बात करते हैं. In the bargain that we don't talk about design, in the bargain that we don't talk about the buyback, the refunds, the store legacy, those things are just by the way. When actually those are things that can make a big impact to the whole purchase process. In which case, the price, even if it is slightly higher, is something which the customer will accept. There are stores which have which are the legacy stores. So there are stores which are just one store operation and which are doing fantastically well compared to someone who has 7 stores or small counters which are there at almost about 80 locations. But the turnover of this one store is so solid that it is giving some serious room for thought to those people opening up 60 stores. But yes, if you're a chain store operation where you're looking at growth, you're looking at, listen, I need to have 4 stores. There's only so much money or so much market centered around this 3 kilometers or 8 kilometers or 40 kilometers radius, and beyond that, there's so much more. Okay? Which means that I have to expand to a new place. I have to look at new areas. I have to look at new markets. So looking at new markets means looking at new places. So for doing this also, for doing this well, for using these 4Ps well, you have to have your mindset and your attitude towards learning in the right place. It can't be a random decision of the boss deciding कि यहाँ पे वो करना चाहिए because so and so ने वहाँ पे दुकान डाला है, वहाँ पे और 2 जने दुकान डाला है, मतलब वहाँ पे potential होएगा इसलिए उन्होंने डाला है. Potential शायद उनके लिए होएगा, जरूरी नहीं आपके लिए. So what is right for jeweler X is not right for jeweler Y maybe. We just don't have to follow the herd, which what typically happens. So people say that jewelry market में दुकान डालो तो वहाँ चलता है और वहाँ चलेगा ही. But I know quite a few stores who come up in non-conventional jewelry markets, and because they have come up and they have succeeded, a jewelry market has developed in and around that. I mean, if you look at Borivali, about maybe less than 10 years back, Borivali was maybe less than 4 stores over there. Today, if you look at LT Road over there, about 17 stores. And mammoth stores have come up. Turner Road, maybe 15 years back, was maybe about 6 to 8 stores. Today, Turner Road has 20 stores. So yes, place and choice of place is important, but it's not mandatory that you have to go to a market where jewelers already exist. If your USP, if your proposition is something which is fundamentally very different from everybody else, people will find a reason to come there in today's time. Promotion, which is all about marketing, so it all depends how you customize your promotion, how you budget for it, how you do all of that. Then we'll come to next. So all of these 4 Ps are something that all of us know or have been knowing in the past because we did economics and we did all of that. But in today's time, there is this thing called the X factor. So everybody has the 4 Ps. But there is something called the X factor. Now, what is this X factor? We don't know. That's why it's called the X factor. So for some stores, the X factor is maybe the passion of the owner. I mean, his energy, his passion is driving the store ahead, is driving everybody ahead. For other stores, it's the people. I mean, he could have a fantastic team. So he could be an average jeweler, and he has been blessed, or he's been able to create and develop and motivate a very good team. So the X factor in some cases is actually the team, and there could be a Y factor actually. So there is something called the Y factor which can turn your table right now. Like today we have the government policies. I mean, in the past 1 year there's so much which has happened. I mean, things haven't been so healthy for all of us. But yes, we overcome all of that. I mean, there was a time maybe about 6-7 months back, people were very, very, very low. Everybody was a kind of hit, and everybody was kind of thinking again, are we doing the right thing? Should we order more? There's IJS on the corner. मैं ऑर्डर करूं कि ऑर्डर नहीं करूं, मार्केट सुधरेगा नहीं सुधरेगा, ऑर्डर करूं तो मैं नॉर्मली जितना ऑर्डर करता हूं उसका 30% ऑर्डर करूं कि 50% ऑर्डर करूं. So there were all of these things. So in our country, the 4 Ps which exist in economics, those are there. But in the past, there has been the Y factor, and some of us have used the X factor very well to surface and to take the lead in the business. The next thing that I want to talk to you about, in fact, this is among the most interesting parts, which we'll be doing in greater detail when we do it at the masterclass. It's about the spokes in your wheel. And here the wheel I'm talking about is not this cartwheel that you see on the right. Okay. In fact, this cartwheel, which you see this picture of the cartwheel, I just clicked it 2 days back at the airport. So the airport, the international airport has these fancy things which they put up across the walls, which is like going to a museum. So they have something like this. At the same airport, if you see on the left side of the screen, you have these air blowers. Okay, so it's one single wheel over there which has nothing. Okay. So for a lot of people, who are doing marketing, who have still not evolved completely, there's no spokes to their marketing wheel. So there is a wheel, just like the air wheel that you see over there. There is a wheel, but the wheel does not have enough spokes. Now you have to question yourself, how many spokes do I have in my marketing wheel? Okay, and the spokes in this wheel that you see over here are all evenly balanced. They are more or less the same size, but does not mean that the spokes in your marketing wheel have to be the same size. And what are these spokes that I'm talking about? I'm talking about the different tools that you use in marketing. So I'm talking about, when you say marketing, people say marketing मतलब advertising. किसने बोला marketing मतलब advertising? Advertising एक अवतार है marketing का. It's one part of it which was rampant and which is what everybody uses. Okay, so that's one spoke. But if this wheel that you see has 6 spokes, then maybe advertising is one spoke. There is something called PR. Okay, PR, which is press relations. So people say, in an industry, any PR goes सारी. Now they are talking about the PR, saying that she has very good, communication skills और उसको customer को पटाने आता है. But वो PR और ये PR जो मैं बात कर रहा हूँ तो अलग चीज है. This PR I'm talking about is press relations. How do you manage to handle the media or the press or the journalists or all of that by the help of a PR agency? How do you do that well? Is also a marketing tool. So a lot of people, and in fact a lot of journalists have understood this now, and you see jewelry being written about as a category, as an industry in the newspapers nowadays. So that's the second market, the scope is PR. There's also exhibitions. A lot of jewelers have looked at exhibitions as a serious exercise for marketing. Some of them I know, they don't spend on advertising because they believe that advertising is too expensive. तो अगर मेरे को एक ऐड लेना है बॉम्बे टाइम्स में और अगर मेरे को क्वार्टर पेज लेना है और मैं क्वार्टर पेज लूंगा और वो ऐड मैं अगर प्रीमियम नहीं दूंगा तो पेज नंबर 7 या 9 या मेरे लेफ्ट साइड पे आएगा and that ad is going to cost me maybe 3.5-4 lakh rupees. Then should I spend 3.5 lakh rupees on a newspaper ad, which is one newspaper, which is one set of people who speak English who see that paper, or should I spend that 4 lakh rupees on a nice exhibition where there are 40 other big jewelers participating? At least I'll get better visibility. So there are some stores who have actually consciously been looking only at exhibitions as a marketing tool. Then there is events. By events I mean that we have to look at some kind of in-store things that we do within the store to get people in. So advertising is a spend of money. It is telling the whole world that you exist. But advertising is not guaranteing you that the person who saw it is going to come to your store. But if there was like a mini in-store event which you do with 40-50 people, a small workshop on something like know your diamonds, or if you have a big solitaire clientele and they are buying solitaire, and we put something together where you talked about understanding the 58 facets of a diamond in 60 minutes. So you do something called a 58 by 60 workshop. In fact, me and Prerna, who's a jewelry blogger, Style Prayer, we actually did something for a couple of jewelers recently. It was called the Style and Substance Workshop. So where we talked about the substance, which is the jewelry part of it, and style as to how to wear that jewelry. So a lot of in-store events can be creative and they can be part of your marketing mix, where every second month, every third month, you could be doing things by which a customer actually comes to your store. In fact, that in-store event also allows for the PR agency, to have some masala or matter to write about, to invite a few press people to cover that. All of this is, so in-store events are also an important part of marketing, and they need to essentially be there in a jeweler's marketing wheel now. In the current times, he needs to get people in. We also have something called CRM. Okay, for most people, CRM is relationship management with customers. Evolved CRM is actually about retaining your customer. So CRM is actually about customer retention management. We've noticed that people who buy from us, or a larger value of our purchase, is from repeat customers. Repeat customers come to us because they bought from us, they're comfortable with us, and they keep coming back. There's a small chance that they may also be tempted by the ad of competition, by the luster of a new brand who has come in, by something else. But if you make a conscious effort, to focus, okay, let me just focus on these 200 customers. And in these 200 customers, these are 60 people who are actually giving me almost 32% of my business. And if I make a plan which is going to keep these 60 people happy, and I have another plan which is going to keep these 140 people happy and coming back for more by touching them at different touch points, then that is kind of guaranteeing me some element of sustained business. Also, when you retain a customer, uh, as a customer expands his family, as they get to know more and more people, automatically more and more people start coming in. So, this is, another important part of your whole marketing wheel. And the last and the most recent addition, okay, which, people all come about is the digital medium. Okay. So everybody nowadays, right, from you to your son, to your customer, to everybody, okay, even the office boy has a Facebook account. And not only in metro cities like Bombay, even in far-flung cities, where I go for consulting, maybe in Gorakhpur also, I've seen that even the peons are on Facebook. So the digital wave has caught on. It's a great medium for marketing. There is Facebook, there is Instagram, there is Twitter. There is something called, like a blogging section or bloggers that people use. You have a website which is also online. You have SEO, which is optimizing the people to come to your website. All of that is also now become a very important part of your marketing plan. In fact, so many people are focusing so much on this, and some people are even thinking that this is getting me, or this is say sales hota hai. So there is this .com, and this .com is fantastically successful, and I think that is what they are doing. So even I should be on Facebook, and I'll get a lot of sales from there. We have to be real. Okay? Being on Facebook does not mean selling on Facebook. Being on Facebook, being on putting up the right post on Instagram is actually talking or communicating with your customers, telling them you exist and what is unique about you, and telling them in a more intimate or a personal manner what is happening. You can engage with them. So if you're able to use the digital medium successfully, then you'll be surprised that you may end up getting quite a few new customers, and you may retain a few customers where they come to know the personality of the brand and they get to know more about you because of the interaction over there. But to do this, it's not everybody's job. You have specialist agencies. In the past few years, just like advertising agencies was the norm of the day. Then there were these creative design studios which came up, which were doing just creatives, and they were not doing any media buying and spending. Today, there are so many more startups in the digital space who are doing a lot of work over there. So, I mean, you have to find out which is the one for you. You have to first understand it for yourself before you actually go out looking for somebody. So, these are these are the 6 spokes which I mentioned to you about, which are there in a typical jewelers marketing wheel. What स्पोक को कितना इंपॉर्टेंस देने का, कौन सा स्पोक आपका बड़ा होएगा, क्या सब सेम होएगा, क्या सबको इक्वल इंपॉर्टेंस होएगा, ये आपको डिसाइड करना है आपके लिए. So let me go forward to the next thing. Budget to budget. Some people, when we at the start of every new financial year, or rather at the end of the previous financial year, when you're in March, typically most corporates and most established brands start planning their advertising and their marketing budgets. In fact, they do it much earlier because they want to apply it from April. In jewelry, we don't kind of think that this is necessary. We kind of spend जैसे मन की मर्जी. Sometimes we hold on to percentages के आप find out करो कि वो जो brand है ना, उसकी तो 200 दुकान है, वो कितना खर्चा करता है. हमने सुना वो सिर्फ 5% खर्चा करता है, लेकिन उसका 5% maybe is 50% of the entire business. So you don't hold that as a benchmark. If they spend 5%, I should also spend 5%. No, it's not true. It's true for him and it's good for him because today he's getting through his 200 stores so much revenue. 5% of that is a big amount, and when he advertises, he has money coming from everywhere. You have a single store. You can't assume that for me, because he is doing 5 and he's so big, if I'm doing 5, it's right for me. No, it's not. Everybody has to figure out their own percentages based on what are the tools that you want to use, what is your future plan, what is the vision for your company, what is the kind of product you want to spend. All of that, is something. It's some kind of an internal research which you do with your sales team, with your marketing team, with your merchandising team, considering the product launches you want to do, and then you come up with a marketing calendar, and that kind of gives you a figure. Okay, this is what I want to spend. When you look at that figure and then you compare your sales, you may realize, listen, I'm spending 37%. Is it right? I mean, if you're making a GP of 45%, and it's your first year in the business, and you still haven't penetrated, people don't know what you're about, then maybe it is right. Maybe it is right. Maybe next year also you'll end up spending 35%. Maybe next year, after that, you spend maybe 20% because the sales will go up, and more or less you penetrate in the market. So your percentages may keep going down. But typically, if you're an independent jeweler, you would still end up spending somewhere at least about 10 to 15% of your, of what you're selling. If you don't plan this in the beginning of the year, if you see कि no, ये सब इतना खर्चा थोड़ी हमको करना, planning क्यों करें? Plan करेंगे तो फिर खर्चा करना पड़ेगा. I'd rather take it as it comes. That's a big mistake that many people do. They don't plan in the beginning. So it's a very clear belief. Failing to plan is basically planning to fail. And whatever you plan, whatever budget you come up with, please keep in mind that always there will be opportunities coming by. In this period of a year, there will be throwaway opportunities coming by because of some things which happen in the media space, some new festival, some big event, a company finishes 25 years in publishing, so they come up with some super offers. TV suddenly decides to give you a regional reach at very small rates, which means that it's supplementing that you can be on TV for a month compared to the cost of holding for a month. So would you not want to do it? So these kind of things, there is always a possibility of something good coming up. If you haven't budgeted or if you haven't kept a contingency, you will probably let go of these kind of things. So whatever you budget for, don't forget, keep a 10% figure kept aside to take advantage of these random offers which may come up. This, like I told you, CRM, it's what we always believe: a customer is king, customer is God, but we've never done anything for this God and for this king, and in our industry, the queen. The customer who kept coming to us, keeps coming to us, we don't do anything special for her. Some of us have started doing some things, but we need to do much more. So we have to acknowledge that the customer is queen. We have to treat her like a queen. If she retains her loyalty, we can't just be giving her customer service, so giving her good, offering her pav bhaji, telling her to, you have to do this and sending her a cake on a birthday or flowers on an anniversary. That's not enough. You have to do far more. And every customer who walks in for whatever smaller purchase, please teach the team at sales that the value of the purchase or the value of the transaction is not the value of the customer. The lifetime value of a customer, of a jewelry customer, when you analyze it, and I have a small, I think I'll share it with you, so you actually realize and you actually will know that yes, there's a lot of truth to something like that. For a store, okay, let's assume that we have so many of these diamond jewelry stores in Bangalore. There's about 15 to 20 of them over there. Most of them specialize in diamond jewelry. They have a little bit of gold jewelry, largely diamond jewelry. A customer who enters any of the stores, okay, when I ask sales, how much do they buy? सर उनके बजट के और क्या देख रहे हैं उसके ऊपर है. कभी-कभी वो लोग आते हैं और 4 लाख का लोग शैंडलियर भी ले लेते हैं और 5 लाख का शैंडलियर भी ले लेते हैं. कभी-कभी वो सेम कस्टमर आता है और 40,000 रुपए का रिंग लेके जाता है. So उनका नीड के हिसाब से जो उनको जरूरत पड़ता है. So we kind of talked around and we figured out that maybe the average purchase of a customer who typically comes there, I mean, a ticket item is 1 lakh rupees. So that store is doing 1 lakh rupees as an average unit price, depending on the number of customers. So if a customer who comes to that store buys 1 lakh every time he comes, and when I ask that person कि वो customer साल में कितने बार आता है आपके पास? सर 2-3 बार तो आ ही जाते हैं हमारे कस्टमर. उनको शौक है ज्वेलरी का, तो कभी खुद के लिए, कभी बच्चों के लिए, कभी for somebody, they keep coming and they buy at least 2 to 3 times. Sometimes they come 5 times also. फेस्टिवल होता है तो उससे तो आते ही है, बट वो छोड़ के भी मतलब 3 बार तो आ ही जाते हैं. So if a customer buys 1 lakh rupees from you as an average and they come thrice a year, that's 3 lakh rupees that you're looking at. So yes. A typical jewelry customer in that zone, I mean, she starts buying jewelry right from the age of 24, 25, and she continues buying jewelry for herself or, very actively. She remains a jewelry shopper, which is at least 55. Ladies tend to buy jewelry even at 60, 70, 75. Okay, but at that age, some of them stop buying so much for themselves. They buy for themselves once a year maybe, but they buy for gifting. But from 25 to 55, a lady is continuously buying jewelry for herself, depending on whatever she wants to spend. That's 30 years. So if a lady who buys 1 lakh every purchase and comes to your store 3 times a year, 3 lakhs a year, and if you're able to retain her for 30 years, okay, it's 30 into 3 lakhs, it's about 90 lakh rupees. So when your salesperson says, "Sir, and you feel that, hey, why did you let her go?" and you didn't even talk to her properly. Sir, गलती हो गया, थोड़ा ये हो गया, वो हो गया. ठीक है, सर ज़्यादा नहीं लेने वाली थी, 30-40 हज़ार के ऊपर. तो ठीक है सर, मैं मेकअप कर दूंगा. That makeup is not 30, 40,000. Or the customer, he is disengaged from the store that day, maybe forever. The loss of sale or loss of opportunity is not 30, 40,000. And the loss of quantity is almost about, like I put, maybe 90 lakhs for somebody who's doing jewelry retail in Antwerp. And it's not only 90 lakhs because, a lady who buys, who's affluent, who's buying jewelry as indulgence, every time she buys a piece of diamond jewelry, she has a habit of, showing it to people, showing it to her friends, talking about it for the whole week when she buys it. Today you have Instagram, so she posts a picture also. I mean, they don't care koi dekh lega. No, they post a picture of them posing and, by the way, oh, this is what I bought, kind of thing. So each of them are every purchase of theirs is able to influence at least 8 more people. If out of those 8 people, even one turn up to your store every year, okay, which means that you're getting 30 new customers, and each of these customers in turn add, even a small fraction of this lady has added. This 1 lakh customer who comes to you twice a year is capable, or the value of that customer, when I do the maths, I put it together, it's almost about 27 crores. And your salesperson thought it's just a 40,000 rupee purchase that he messed up with. No, he's messed up with a potential of a customer who would have actually given you 20 crores worth of jewelry buying throughout her lifetime. Maybe more, depending on the number of people who she was able to influence. So, I mean, we have to look at, going forward, we have to look at getting beyond the transactional method of working. We have to do long-term relationship building. And that's what, the old mantra new yantra is about. We have to change the way we do CRM. We need a new yantra. We need a new vehicle to do this. That's about it. And I think this is all that I have to share in brief over here. If you're interested in the bigger picture, then all of you who've not yet registered or who are keen to attend a complete 2-day rundown on merchandising and marketing by Shivaram and myself, you guys should look at this 17th and 18th. We're doing this at Orchid, and you can get in touch with Sudarshan, and it's all up there on Facebook and everywhere. And you should be a part of this. Thank you for being an attentive audience and being with us. And if there's anything that you want to ask, we are there with you.
Hi Navin and Shivaram, we have got few questions. If you can just open the question panel and take those questions for the benefit of the entire audience.
Okay. So should I go to the first one? Okay, Hetal has left, but Hetal had a question. Where she asked, can you share some insight on data collection? What data to collect and how to use it? So, there's a lot of data that can be collected, but I'll give you something which is very simple and something which is very effective and very resourceful. Even if you start putting together data of the total footfalls that your store has, and there was a sheet put together which just said serial number 1, group 1, 2 ladies, 1 kid, whether they purchased or no. So if you put a tick mark whether they purchased, and you just put a value, and you keep doing this for the whole month, you actually come to know that you know how many people you have. So you have 300 people walking to your store every month, 300 people walking in, and you've only been able to convert maybe as less as 27 bills. Now you converted less than 10%. Now what is the reason for this? When you reflect back and look at your merchandise, was it merchandise, was it people, was it all of that? So this data which you collect actually will give you some insights. Listen, I'm getting people in, but I'm not maximizing my sale in spite of the people being there. So this is one small data feedback form which needs to be done. It doesn't require any major designing. It's just a simple Excel sheet which you can make yourself, and it's something practical which you can do. Shivaram, why don't you take the next one? Shivaram, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, can you read the question for me? I can't see it here for some reason.
One second. Swapnil, it's not even here, the question.
Yeah, I'll read out the questions for you both, and then you can answer them one by one. First we have is how to identify customers' need.
Shivaram, you take that.
Yeah, okay. See, I go back to, I mean, both of us are trainers. I think there is a way to ask the question, right? Typically, I'm assuming that, this is a store which has been there for some time, and they have a set of salespeople who are expected to ask these questions to the customer. If you are an extremely busy store, and if you've been into South India, they'll tell you upfront, this is a chain counter between 1 sovereign and 2 sovereign, 2 sovereigns to 3 sovereigns, and things like that. Or if you are a little more slightly more upmarket store, I would say, right, then you'll start by asking what is it that they would like to buy or they would like to see. So in all probability, she'll turn it around and say, okay, you know what, I have got an occasion. Or you could even ask a question as simple as, is there an occasion in your mind? So if she says, I'm looking for something for daily wear, or if I'm looking for a wedding or a gifting, then you can appropriately, take it to the next level with a sample tray kind of a thing. One of the things that probably worth mentioning here, and most people are challenged, I would say, is when the consumer comes into the store, in her mind, 85% of the chance is that she's looking for something in gold. Because that's the country, that's the profile of the consumer, that's the market share, right? Now you can very well ask, ma'am, what would you like to see? And she'll say bangles, right? And you can take her to the bangle counter straight away. And more often than not, that's at the easiest, shortest, probably the shortest distance. But when she says bangle, and in her own mind it is 22 carat, right? You can put in another question and say, ma'am, we have a new diamond collection. Can I show that to you? Let's assume that there is still an 85% chance that she says, no, I don't want. But there's still a 15% chance he says, okay, chalo, dekh lete. So you got a 15% opportunity to upsell her to a diamond collection, where obviously the margin is 2x or 3x. So it's all a question of what is your objective. Here the objective was clearly for me to try and see whether you would be interested in a diamond bangle. When you're in your mind, and in probably I know that you still are looking for a plain gold bangle. It could be as simple as understanding the the customers, having a look at the customer. I should just give you another example. It happened to me in our office 2 weeks back. we had a company which sells expensive leather shoes. So he had come to my office and saying that, can you train our team? And in his business, what does he look for? He keeps looking at your feet, right? To understand what exactly are you wearing, right? And from that, he's making a judgment call saying that, what is the kind of shoes that I can probably show you. So if the customer is coming to a jewelry store, you look at her face, you look at her hand, and it probably gives you an idea of what kind of products that she is likely to buy. I'm sure, of course, there are always exceptions saying that, I came in very casually dressed and I'm looking for a solitaire, in which case you probably got me wrong. But by and large, you can make out whether this is the kind of a guy whom I can probably show a diamond bangle worth 20 lakhs. Or is it a person whom I should be showing a finger ring? And then depending upon the kind of question that you counter ask, these are all open-ended questions. That is when you will start getting cues on what is the product that you would like, or even before the product, what is the counter you should take that person to. Swapnil? Swapnil, next question.
Yeah, the next question says, how do we attract more customers with print advertising?
Okay. I take that one, Shivaram. Okay, how do we attract more customers with print advertising? I'll take that, Shivarama. I think the question should rather be, how do we attract more customers with advertising? Okay, it can't be print advertising or whatever you're doing. I mean, when you're advertising, there has to be some kind of communication. What is happening with most jewelry ads? Most jewelry ads, either they are clearly product oriented, so there's a product which is the hero, where it will copy largely the product. The other jewelry ads exist where there's a model, and the model is wearing some outstanding piece of jewelry on her neck, on her hand, or wherever. In some cases, maybe 6 pieces. Let's put as much of jewelry on her because the more jewelry she has, उतना बिक जाएगा. For some reason हमको अगर वैसा लगता है, but ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. People who print advertising or any advertising, the purpose of your communication should be very clear. Don't go with just an ad which shows a woman shows jewelry. You're talking to a customer who's seeing maybe 7 jewelry ads on that particular day across different forms of media. Unless your communication in the ad is talking to him, unless your ad is a call to action, so there has to be some call to action. Even an ad which just shows the door of your store and written over there, have you been here lately? And you have the logo there. It's telling a customer, hey, this guy looks different. He's asking me to come, something he's done to his store or something different. Or another ad for a product, and you see, like a cradle, and you see a jewelry which is amplified maybe 10 times sitting in a cradle. And you're saying that at my store, every day there's a newborn. Indirectly telling a customer, I want to have 30 more designs for you. So there is communication. There is a reason for the customer to come. Just putting jewelry, putting a model, it really doesn't work, because finally, if I were to interchange your logos with your competition logo, it doesn't matter to anybody. What's the communication? How do you stand apart? So basically, whether it's print, whether it's radio, whether it's TV, the communication has to be well thought out, and it should come out in the end. Okay, Viprika, that was for you. Sapna, you read the next question. Shivaram, I'll read the question.
Yeah, do that. Swapnil will read. Yeah.
There is a person called Kushala Shetty. I think the person has left, but anyhow, the question we'll still take up. What would your suggestion what would be your suggestion of making the most from trade shows? I assume that the person is a retailer.
I will answer this. What's your merchandise plan for the forthcoming season? Right? If you're going into, let's say you're going into a Diwali or a Dhanteras season, right? You have to you have a merchandise plan. You have an existing inventory, and then I'm assuming that you're looking for something different, something to fill the gaps, rather than come there to discover um, a a new vendor or something like that. I would say you should start saying that I am looking for a collection which is, let's say, priced between X to Y, and which either gets in as part of your overall merchandise mix in the store, or it could be a very disruptive kind of a collection. So for example, suppose you have all along been a gold jeweler, 90% or 95% of your jewelry is in gold. Now if you're looking to introduce a collection, a collection could be just, for example, in rose gold, and then you do an effective marketing, which what Navin is talking all about. Then you have some product differentiation in a market which is completely let's say yellow shining gold oriented. So if I am a customer and if I'm coming into the market, or I'm seeing 8 newspaper ads, all of them looks very similar, the one with a rose gold collection in the market that I'm likely to go is likely to attract me to say, okay, let me go and have a look at the rose gold collection. It may still be possible that I might end up buying a yellow gold collection, but at least you got a footfall because of the marketing effort. So that means my objective is I need to see a new gold collection for my store which is distinct. It could be completely different. You could say that, listen, I would like to buy machine made chains. I'm buying it at X particular kind of making charges and value addition today, and I'm looking for the either a cheaper price, which is what I find, but I would rather prefer a more reliable customer for whom I'm willing to pay the same price, or it may be a little controversial, I'm willing to pay a higher price provided the product is good, there are no quality issues, comes on time, and fills the gap in my merchandise. So it's no longer just about machine made chains. I am looking at a specific type of a chain, about a vendor who is going to deliver to me on time and without QC issues. That's a completely different approach. So it depends upon what do you want to do in an exhibition. It can, and I'm actually very surprised when you see loads and loads of people, retailers coming into the market, into a fair, without a clear plan on what they are buying. And imagine the kind of money that the entire industry is putting in those 3 days or 4 days. And just now, if you actually seen, one of the questions that I asked was, what is the average age of your inventory? And the answer is between 4 to 5 months, 6 months, and 2 years. So you can imagine that if you are looking at least a 3 or a 4 stock turns, clearly you got inventory which is dead. And in a category where the margins are 7-8%, if 20% or 30% of your inventory is slow moving, and you're paying 12% to 15% as an opportunity cost, and 20% of your inventory is dead, then you have lost 8%, 6% already. So every one of them has to dovetail into your business plan. Yeah, Navin.
Okay, so the next one is by Palash K. And I take this one. He's asking, can you help us to identify what kind of trainings are required for a sales staff? So Palash, very good. This is right down our alley. I mean, I was waiting that somebody will ask this question. Honestly, sales staff in jewelry retail, they've been relegated to a very. I mean, they've not been getting the respect that they truly deserve. They are involved in long hours of work. A salesperson in a jewelry store begins their life in the store at 10. In a city like Bombay, that person to reach his store at 10, he has to leave his home at 8:30, quarter to 9. Travel in the local train, reach there. Uh, by the time the person reaches back home, it's way past 10:30, 11. Because the store typically shuts at 8:39, and again to brave the traffic, go back. I mean, and you do this day in, day out, every day of the week. Even the weekends are the main days when you want them around. Uh, in a situation like that, they are, many of them, the self-esteem also for themselves doesn't exist. So there has to be something that you do daily which motivates them about their job. Okay, it could be a pat on the back, it could be something which gives them the required energy. But that is something which you do as a matter of culture within the organization. But in terms of your specific question training, uh, we put together something called the PEP program. PEP. PEP means pepping them up. So the P in PEP stands for product. So if the product is about gold, if the product is about diamond, if the product is about gemstones, if the product is about platinum, if the product is about silver, then you need to make sure that the salesperson is given all the fundamental details required for about all of these things so that he can stand behind a counter with comfort. The E in PEP stands for environment. We are all part of the retail environment. In the same environment, you have a PGI doing Ivara, somebody doing Forever Mark, somebody talking about Fura, and somebody talking about Gemfield, and somebody talking about Azwa, and your salesperson is hit with all of this, and this is आपके पास platinum brand है क्या? Salesperson पूछता है. I mean, a customer पूछता है. And the salesperson looks upon platinum as a brand. They don't even, some of them don't even know platinum is a metal. For them, platinum is a brand. Now they have absolutely no idea what is going on in the retail environment beyond the four walls of the store. They need to know what your competition is doing. They need to know what a brand is doing. They need to know what a counter brand is doing. They need to know what a signature store is doing if you're a family jeweler. So they need to know the environment of retail, of jewelry retail. And finally, the third P, which I talked about in the PEP, the last P, is about process. They need to understand or have an insight or a video or some kind of basic grounding on how jewelry is actually manufactured. So that when a customer asks them about repairs, asks them about the process, they're able to answer them with some level of conviction as to नहीं इसको इतना time क्यों लगेगा, इसको इतना time क्यों लगेगा. So fundamentally, for every person to be standing into a counter, we assume that everybody is a salesperson and they can sell. But ये तीन tools जो product किया और basic courtesy, grooming, hygiene के ऊपर आपने दिया, then I think there will be some level of confidence that the customer will not going to come and running to go to the boss. You'll at least save, you'll have 30%, 40% more time in hand because sales people will take care of it. Shivaram, you agree?
Yeah, I have one point. Just like what Navin was saying, I think it's the onus is also on the salesperson to want to train himself. It's one thing to say that I have not got trained. In fact, one of the questions that I ask in my training programs whenever I meet staff is, when did you last get trained? And the typical answer is, I don't remember, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, etc., etc. Then I say, how many of you have got a mobile phone? Obviously today everybody, right? How many of you have got a smartphone? Increasingly everybody. How many of you have a data pack? Almost everybody. How many of you think it's free? Almost everybody. It's 100 rupees, I think, whatever, right? Now, if you have a mobile phone at the end of your hand, if you don't train yourself, I would say the responsibility or the mistake or the blame is you. Today, for example, I will say that, for example, this GemAtlas is a free training program. You should have got yourself registered on this program, which means that you got a link. You got it 10 days ago, 12 days ago, 3 days ago, even today, maybe there was a reminder. If you have gone to your store, and I know that you are probably not allowed to use a mobile phone in your store, if you've taken it up to your boss, right, I'm sure you could have organized 3-4 of you to listen to this webinar. And that, I think, is part of training. That's point number one. Point number two, I mean, just from our own point of from Retail Gurukul, we have started an online retail training program for sales staff. और क्या चाहिए भैया? We can come, both me and Navin, we can come and train you with, across the country, right? You got half a day, we'll train. You got 1 day, we'll train. You got 2 hours, we'll train. We got 15 minutes, we can train. We can train you offline, we can train you online. He told you, listen, you travel 1.5 hours a day from morning till evening, and you travel another 1.5 hours a day every day in the night. I understand, you may or may not be interested in opening up a training session in your train. But Monday through Friday, I would think 75% of the stores between 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock have hardly any walk-ins, unless you're such a busy store. What are you doing there, right? If you put together a computer, if you put together an internet connection, allocate half an hour, 45 minutes, like the way you have a calendar for your lunch hour. In fact, I've seen in many large stores, there is a calendar for the store staff by lunch hour, right? Half an hour, 45 minutes, right? There is no reason why the people who are here, people who are watching in, cannot put together a calendar for training. Right inside the store, 45 minutes, there's a whole bunch of videos that are possible. Put that together and ask them to watch. And I'll give you as a supervisor, if you're watching this and if you want to train, I'll give you another tip, so to say. You say that here are the 3 videos to be watched by everybody over this 1 week, and then I am going to ask the question to you as to what you have learned. That's from the supervisor point of view. I am saying that forget the supervisor, the manager, the owner, or everybody. Vitamin money is very, very passionate word for me. Are you not interested in vitamin money? I presume so. Then why is it that you can't train yourself? If you are able to sell a 10,000 rupee diamond finger ring instead of a gold finger ring, is there better margin? Of course there is. If you don't know, let me clarify, there is more margin. Now, if you consistently sell more diamond jewelry compared to gold jewelry, and if you have understood that there is more margin, you go and talk to your boss. Boss, listen, I am sold 20 diamond rings today against 2 diamond rings in the last 6 months. What will he say? He'll say, yeah, very nice, very nice. 6 months down the line, automatically you are eligible for a higher raise. If it doesn't give you, go and ask. So it's the onus seems to be on somebody else training you. I will say the onus is on you to train yourself. Next question.
Archana Jain, how well does direct marketing work today? Like a direct mail postcard, invite for new collection, website launch, etc. How well does it work today? Okay. Shivaram, you want to do that? I should take that?
No, take.
Okay. So, direct marketing done randomly does not work. Direct marketing done as part of a routine works fantastically well. Because your ad, if you do one ad every 3rd week, there is no guarantee that the customer who's reading the newspaper will see the ad. But if you make it a point that every month you're going to send a customer a direct marketing card, and it can be a simple colored card which is going to him, and it could be as simple as the birthstone of the month and some story to do with that birthstone and diamond in the particular month. And you do this every month. The customer gets so used to seeing that communication from you that the month it doesn't come, or it's been misplaced, or his housekeeper has kept it somewhere, he kind of asks, yeah, iska aaya hi hoega, kaise nahi aaya hoega? Aata hi hai iska. Between 5th to the 7th, I remember that every time something like this comes. So if you're able to do things with such repetitive succession, then it becomes a marketing activity, then it becomes a spoke or a different spoke in your wheel. By doing an invitation for a tea party, and you said I sent out 200 invites, nobody came, there were only 27 people came, others didn't even call. That's a random thing. Maybe they didn't get it, maybe they got it, they threw it away. But if you do this month on month rigorously in a particular format, on a particular day, or in a particular week, then the customer gets addicted to it and they want it. So I think it's a need. there's a gap over there. Not many people in the jewelry industry are doing direct marketing. It's something which a small business looking for localized customers can do. Uh, okay, Shivaram, you take this one. It's from Neeraj Soni. It says, can the word of mouth advertising be one of the spoke of the advertising wheel? In this modern time, is it still effective? Neeraj Soni is asking this.
Yeah, Sony, hi. Right, the answer is very simple, right? Probably the most effective way is actually word of mouth. If you have delivered good service to the customer, she's going to probably say, like what Navin said, she's probably going to show off her purchase and talk about it to at least 4 or 5 people. The opposite is also true. If you have given a bad service to the customer, she's probably going to tell 2 times the number of people whom she would have told when she had a happy experience. And I'll give you the bad experience easier than probably the good experience. The Indigo story of where they bet up a passenger, I think every, if not the whole country, at least every airline passenger knows about it, and they did no advertising on it, right? So it's extremely important on what that word of mouth experience is all about. So if you start building it as a culture, you can do it thus to training. But I'll go one step back, and in our workshops also we'll talk about is it is part of your business plan. In your business plan, you should say in this year, like he said, Jan, Feb, March, or anytime, even in the month of May, you please plan if you have never ever planned before, saying that in the next 3 months, I would like to improve the customer service inside my showroom. Think about 5-6 things about how you can improve customer service. Having said that, how do you measure? Which is another best practice that you should have, which is called performance metrics. Ask the customer, how does she feel? So if you have asked 100 customers in the month of May, ask another set of 100 customers in the month of June and July and August, saying that how do you find the shopping experience? So many people said yes, it was good. So many people are continuing to say, the same percentage of people are saying we are happy, or is it improving? If it is not improving, then you should be doing something else which will improve the quality of your service. That's how you constantly and continuously improve.
We'll take one last question, and this has to do with e-retailers. So, Shivaram, you can take this. It's Donesh Arani. He's asking, how do you think with e-retailers or e-tailers coming, how will the traditional jewelry business cope with such competition?
If you had not said jewelry retailers, I would have had one answer. Since you mentioned jewelry retailers, I'm assuming that as a jewelry retailer, do you anticipate competition from the e-retailers? I don't think it is such an issue. Maybe it's a long way off, though. If you really speak to the e-retailers themselves, they are saying, we are doing much better than we did in the past. But I think we should get something in perspective. If you look at the entire jewelry market, and I think we should try this out, right, is supposed to be 3 lakh crores every year, right? That is, lakh is 5 zeros and crores is 7 zeros. So if you put 12 zeros after the 3, that's the size of the market. All the e-retailers put together, I think, is about 300 crores, if it is. So we are nowhere. I think they are in some 0.501 or whatever the number is. So I don't think I need to be so worried about the e-retailers. But what I would rather do, and Navin explained that slightly, is don't look at it as whether they made a purchase on your website. What is definitely happening is a much larger percentage of the people are browsing the internet. And the way to check that out is, I really don't care whether the customer sitting in Bangalore is browsing your website or not. You have this 100, 200, 300 customers who are coming into your store, whatever may be the frequency. One of the questions that was asked us, how do I measure, how do I evaluate customer service and things like that. One of the questions is that, ma'am, do you use the internet? What do you use the internet for? Did you check out whether jewelry is available on the internet? How did you discover us? Blah 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 blah. It need not be every question is asked to everybody, but then you start understanding for your set of customers, is internet an important portion of their decision making? If you are able to identify that yes or no, and I'll give you one more example, even though we have been speaking about it in English, this whole program is in English. There is a significant gap in local language information on the internet. So if you are a Gujarati retailer sitting in Bhavnagar, go back and check the amount of information on jewelry, on your store, on jewelry industry in itself in Gujarati. And I believe I'll be right when I say you'll be finding it that there's hardly anything. So if you can create Gujarati relevant content on the internet in and around your business and talk to your customers, and you find that actually do first things first, which is talk to your customers, find out whether that profile looks at internet, what's the language she's searching that internet for, and answer that question. Then you are leveraging, not exact or competing with e-retailers, leveraging internet for your business.
Okay, I think that was the last question that we can take now. Hetal has written in, Hetal R. She's left, but she's thanked us for the presentation, and she's written, where can I get info on your seminar on the 17th? So Hetal, the seminar is on the 17th and 18th. You should call Sudarshan on his cell number 98208 96324. I repeat, 98208 96324, and you can speak to him and you can figure out, he'll give you all the details, the content, the enrollment form, the payment procedure, everything. It's for 2 days, almost 7.5 hours each day, so it's 15 hours, 17th and 18th, and it's not like a seminar, it's not like a panel discussion, it's not glory hunting. It is serious studies and serious masterclass where you get down to it, and at the end of the whole thing, you probably will be going home with some kind of a marketing plan which you can apply in your business. Am I right, Shivaram?
Yep. Marketing and merchandising.
Sorry, marketing and merchandising. Okay, so thanks a lot from both of us. And Swapnil, you want to wrap it up? Or you?
Thank you so much, both of you, for having this wonderful presentation for us today. Thank you everybody for joining in us today and just clarifying all your questions that you had with regards to marketing and merchandising.
Now, is the recording going to be available? You can answer that. Some people can come back.
Yes, the recording of this entire presentation would be available on our website, that is gematlas.com. and wherein they can see all the entire presentation along with the question answer that has been covered up now.
Yep. Thanks.
So
thanks.
Good to close. Yeah, on behalf of the entire audience and the GemAtlas team, I would like to thank Mr. Navin and Mr. Shivaram for sparing some time and sharing their insights with regards to marketing and merchandising with us today. Yep. With this, we are ending the session. Thank you, everybody.